welcome back to my channel. I am going to give you my review on the country of Liechtenstein, and I'm also planning on telling you guys a little bit of similarities and differences between the two countries that we went to. In case you are interested in visiting one of these countries, I hope that my information helps you out in your travels and you know what to expect once you're out there. But yeah, let's get started on this video. So first I want to apologize. I'm a little sick, so bear with me and my stuffy nose. We got our coffee, and I think I want to start off this video by saying which country I like the most. I had to pick one, and even though they were both amazing, I definitely feel like I have a favorite. So between Montenegro and Liechtenstein, I want to say that I preferred Liechtenstein, and I'll tell you why. The vibe there was more of a small town kind of vibe, and I think that's my kind of cup of tea. You know, Montenegro was more of a populated area, more touristic, and that's all good and all, but I think that I am more of a small town girly, and the nature in Liechtenstein, it got me. It was breathtaking. It was so beautiful. Nothing I've ever seen before in my life. And with the simple fact that I would wake up and the mountains had just a little bit more snow on them each morning, just brought me so much excitement. I don't know why, but it was like each morning the snow was getting closer and closer to me, even though the snow never got to where I was staying at, but you can just see it kind of creeping every morning closer and closer, and just making the trees and the mountains so beautiful. So I think I'm going to start off with some similarities that both Montenegro and Liechtenstein had, and one of them, I might have said in my past videos, but I am going to say them again. And one of the similarities is that their grocery store closes on Sundays. I don't know if it's like a religious thing or a cultural thing, but usually on Sundays all the grocery stores are closed, so make sure you get your groceries before then. Also, I did mention that in the grocery store they have this like weigher that you have to price the produce yourself. So whatever you end up getting, you have to price it yourself by putting it on this weigher, pressing the button of what the produce is, and then it prints out a little ticket of how much it's going to be, and you just stick it on your produce. Usually you have to do that. They don't do that for you. I saw a lot of purple flowers in both places, which, melted my heart, made me feel close to Kaz. I loved seeing all the purple flowers together, and I'm happy that I went to two countries that have purple flowers. Another thing, and I don't think this is just in Europe, but it's definitely different from the US. They don't have dryers. They have either strings where you can hang your clothing, or they have like those stands. Both places did not have dryers. They had those stands, so that was quite interesting. So plan ahead if you're doing laundry out there. Both of them had lots of hiking trails, which I appreciated. I'm a big hiking girl. I love being in nature, so if you are a nature person as well, you will find hiking trails in both. I also noticed that in both countries, I did not see one homeless person, which was crazy because I'm so used to that here in the US, which is so sad, but I did not see one homeless person. Maybe there are, but not in the areas that I was in. I would say that both are very clean countries. They keep everything pretty spotless. I want to say Liechtenstein was a little bit more clean, but I think that has to do with the fact that it's not a very touristic area. There's not a ton of people, so less people, less mess, less trash. Church bells. Lots and lots and lots of church bells. I'm going to assume that both places are very religious, so there's a lot of churches, meaning there's a lot of church bells. Thankfully, I feel like, at least in the places that I stayed, I was able to walk to the grocery stores. There's always a grocery store close by, so there was no need to drive to the grocery store or take a bike to the grocery store. I was always able to walk to the grocery store. But I will say, if you are walking to the grocery store, then you can't really buy a ton of stuff because you have to carry it all back. So make sure you don't get too much, but just enough, so where you don't have to go every single day to the grocery store. But those are some similarities that I found between the two countries. Now, some differences. Even though Montenegro and Liechtenstein both had people who smoked cigarettes, I do want to say that it was a lot less in Liechtenstein and a lot more in Montenegro. In Montenegro, you would pass by places and it just smelled like cigarettes. And in Liechtenstein, you just saw a few people here and there smoking. So that was a bit of a difference. In Liechtenstein, no mosquitoes. I think it gave off like a very clean, clear air vibe. So I noticed no mosquitoes. In Montenegro, it's a little bit humid. In Liechtenstein, it was not. So there's a bit of a weather difference. I do want to say that I did feel like people in Liechtenstein were a lot nicer. I know I mentioned this in my video in Montenegro, how people were kind of just to themselves. They wouldn't give you eye contact. They wouldn't really smile. Totally different in Liechtenstein. Everyone was really nice, smiling, saying good morning, saying have a good day, you know, all of that. So that was really nice to encounter. A huge difference in Liechtenstein is that the prices. It's really expensive in Liechtenstein. I think, as you've seen in my past videos, especially when I talk about the prices at restaurants, I think the cheapest dinner I had was $30 and the most expensive was like $90. And that's just me, you know, so food out there is really expensive. In the grocery store, not so much. It's all right. But if you're going out to a restaurant, especially in the area that I was, there was 4 restaurants. They were all very expensive. So that's a big difference. If you're going to Liechtenstein, make sure you take some money. Now, I didn't notice any stray animals in Liechtenstein. The weather was a lot cooler. There was rain in both countries, but I would say in Montenegro it was like a warm rain, and then in Liechtenstein it was a cool rain. And obviously in Liechtenstein there was snow. Montenegro, there was no snow. It was really weird though, because I feel like usually after it rained, like the next day, it wasn't cold like it usually, like that's what I'm usually used to. After it rains, the next day is like super cold. It was actually pretty warm after the day that it rained. So that was kind of interesting. Even though it was like foggy and cloudy, it was kind of warm afterwards. Now in Liechtenstein, out of the 4 restaurants that I went to, 2 of them had the same menu, and then the other 2 had different menus. So I think it's a common thing for them to all have, the restaurants have the same menu for each season, which I wasn't a big fan of. I like having options when it comes to my food, and just the menu that, the same menu that 2 of these restaurants had, they didn't have a lot of like vegetarian, pescatarian options. So I was very happy to find the other 2 that had different items on their menu. Now the languages are different. In Liechtenstein, it's a lot of German. a lot of German. And in Montenegro, it was Serbian, Montenegrin, a bit of, I think, everything because of tourists. You know, you would hear all of that. But the locals, I would say, from Montenegro, it's Montenegrin Serbian, which is very similar. In Liechtenstein, I don't feel like there was much going on. I noticed that it was mainly just houses and businesses, like not not a city where you feel like, ooh, they've got cool stuff going on, new modern things going on. It was very just mainly homes and businesses. In Liechtenstein, again, I think because it's not a touristic place, it was very quiet. Every neighborhood I went to, it was so quiet. Cars would barely pass by. It was so weird, so eerie, but at the same time kind of pretty cool. In Liechtenstein, they are big on public transportation. That's pretty much how I got around all of Liechtenstein. I took the bus a lot, so thankfully it's super easy to do. You just have to get an app on your phone and pay, decide you're getting on the bus from this point and getting dropped off at this point, and it'll tell you how much it charges you, and you're good to go. I will say nobody checks the app, nobody checks if you paid, so that was, I think it's very easy to just like not pay because nobody's checking, but that made me get the feel that Liechtenstein is a very trustworthy country, and everybody kind of trust that everybody will do the right thing. So it was nice being in a country like that, because that is not how it is in the US at all. Kind of feels like we're all trying to scam each other sometimes, so we're all in like survival mode. But in Liechtenstein, everyone's just like super chill, like, you're good, you're golden, we trust you. I also noticed that Liechtenstein is squished between Switzerland and Austria. Now, when you would go into Switzerland, there wasn't really a border. There wasn't like a border with people checking your passport or anything like that. I went into Austria once and there was a border, but there was nobody there. So sometimes there's people there checking, and then sometimes there isn't. So being able to go within those three countries, I would say, is pretty simple. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, and I could be wrong, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's kind of how it is in Europe a lot, but I could be wrong. At least in Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and Austria, there was not really people checking your passports when you entered into a different country. I would say that Liechtenstein kind of reminds me of maybe the size of my hometown, maybe 3 times bigger. I would say that if you went from the very top to the very bottom of Liechtenstein, you can drive all the way through within like 30 minutes, maybe even less. So small little country. When I went to Europe, I was definitely expecting the drivers to be on the opposite side, but all the cars that I saw there, everybody was driving on the left side like we do in the US. So that was pretty interesting to see. I don't think I saw one car with the driver on the right side. I love Liechtenstein as well because it has castles and castle reminds me of history. It reminds me that something that has been there for way longer than I have been on this earth, and people from the past have been there, and I just like, there's something about castles that make you feel like you're being transported into the past. So going to castle ruins, going to see castles, it was just a wild experience, and I loved every bit of it. I also want to talk about the expenses that I had during these 2 months. I wrote down everything I spent, and just so you guys know, just so you guys can have an idea, when it comes to food, car rentals, activities, restaurants, you know, everything that I did. I want to say that I spent around $800 to $1,000 within that month, which is not a lot. It's I feel like I spend way more in the US, but in those months, I spent around, I would say, $800 to $1,000, which I think is great. Just so you guys know, you know, with everything that I did, just kind of calculate. If you want to do a little bit more, you'll probably spend a little bit more. If you don't see yourself doing as much as what I did, you're going to be spending probably a little bit less. So I was curious how much I would spend, and around the same for both countries. I spent like $800 to $1,000. So just so you guys can keep that in mind. But yeah, that is my review on Liechtenstein. And before I end this video, I definitely want to give a huge shout out to my host, Ivan and Vasily. They were both such amazing hosts. Like they are the kind of hosts that make you feel like family. They make you feel at home. They're always checking on you, making sure you're okay. And I just felt like they were second grandparents to me. So nice, so lovely. I highly I would definitely go stay with them in the future, and I would recommend you guys do it too. Such a beautiful place, such a beautiful home, an amazing view, and they just went above and beyond for me. So I really appreciate that when it comes to Airbnb hosts, especially when I'm going to a country that I don't even know and I don't know the language. They were very helpful with everything, and I give them a 10 out of 10. They were amazing. But I'm going to end this video here. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. There's more to come. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. And you guys stay tuned for the next video. I am so excited. And let's go to a place we've never been before. Let's go. Vámonos. We can do anything.